Australians are set to be given an early mark for good behaviour.
We all love an early mark, and Australia is set to begin its national relaxation of virus restrictions
as the nation's leaders plan a staged relaxation of social distancing rules.
Let's go straight to Canberra. It's all happening today.
12:30 PM's courtyard.
It's 12:30 in the courtyard.
We are expecting the Prime Minister to step up shortly.
Hi.
Hello there, how are you? I'm all right.
You got the PowerPoint?
I sure do. We're excited about this one, I think.
What's the plan, I suppose?
I can't see pubs on here. I mean, it's not
Look,
that
that
I
has
was
been
looking.
the question on most people's lips, right?
Unusually, we've been given a heads up on what this announcement is going to be, a handy slideshow, but we've got here the outline of the three stages.
This is the plan for a COVID-safe Australia. 3 steps.
We also want to make sure that before we do anything, every Australian follows these measures.
Best PowerPoint presentation yet. Australians appreciating this clarity around where things are headed. One question to you, where do pubs and clubs sit on the steps? We can't see them on there.
It will be level 3 before bars and nightclub type venues without seated dining would be open.
Thank you very much.
So this is the announcement we'd all been waiting for. The Prime Minister and the Chief Medical Officer there releasing this plan for how to ease Australia's coronavirus restrictions. The Prime Minister wants to see Australia getting to stage 3 by July. Ultimately though, all of these decisions are up to the states and territories.
Members on my right, members on my left, members on both sides. Mr. Speaker.
Time has concluded.
Oh no, in the hearings. Oh, yeah,
We've kept a straight face while listening to recent converts Scott Morrison and Josh Frydenberg talk about the importance of economic stimulus. The pandemic has shown that Labor's values of fairness, security, and the power of government to change lives were the right values in a crisis.
Before the Parliament even sat, Anthony Albanese wanted to get out on the front foot. We saw those strange scenes of having a party room address with the spaced out politicians, but really trying to put his direction for where Australia should go after the coronavirus.
The opposition has really been sidelined during the debate on COVID-19 and what the government's doing, because I mean, they're not in government and the government's been pulling the levers to try and soften the blow to the economy. But this is his chance to really insert himself into the debate, put Labor's ideas forward as to what should happen. He argues that it's a once-in-a-generational opportunity to reshape the economy. Again, I'm not sure how much traction that got.
It comes at a time when the politicians decide to come back. They want to sending a signal to the rest of the community it's time to get back to work. But it's not Parliament like we've seen the last couple of times. There's more heat, it feels.
You're right. There is a return of some of that heat.
Your office asked Bridget McKenzie to seek your authority on projects to receive sports grants.
Good to see that the Canberra Press Gallery is back to politics as usual with Parliament coming back. Yeah, thank you. I've answered your question. I said no.
The Prime Minister wants a return to work, but he doesn't want to return to questions, it seems, on topics that aren't to do with coronavirus, because we saw the sports rorts come back again, and it's something that he spent the bulk of the week trying to not have to talk about.
Yeah, there are some really awkward questions for him to face, given that there was new information has come out from the National Audit Office, clearly showing that there's been interaction from the Prime Minister's office and Bridget McKenzie's office when the sports rorts were happening. He's just tried to shut that down by saying it's, politics as usual has come back here. I'm not sure that that's going to continue to sort of quell the appetite for that, if anything.
No, it doesn't wash. And the fact is, yes, it's awkward for him because he has been able to, this is the Prime Minister, has been able to develop a more statesman-like perspective. Now, that perspective, the public perspective of him as the statesman, is undercut when you go to these rather ugly little stories like sports rorts.
How could we forget? You had the colour-coded charts.
Who could forget?
Long-standing Labor MP Mike Kelly is quitting politics, sparking a by-election in the local seat of Eden-Monaro.
I really do regret, and it has broken my heart to have to do this. It's gut-wrenching, as I have said. And I wouldn't be doing it if it just wasn't absolutely necessary to do it. A lot of tough times through that.
Do you foresee a situation where, because of the coronavirus situation, there might have to be changes made to the actual by-election process itself?
So it's just a matter of common sense, but there's no reason we can't have a by-election.
We saw coalition partisanship even with a little by-election that popped up out of the blue in Eden-Monaro, that suddenly you got people sparring and they're on the same side of politics.
I mean, it was a disgraceful performance from the coalition.
I do want to apologise for anyone who's been upset, confused by what's happened.
Libs and Nats squabbling over a seat that they don't even hold. Now, yes, they got a good chance of pinching it, but goodness me, whoever does become the candidate for the Libs and the Nats, well, they're already starting, you'd say, 3 lengths behind.
It was always going to be a significant day in federal parliament, with the Treasurer Josh Frydenberg due to report on the ailing state of the Australian economy.
It is fantastic to be back in sunny Canberra.
It'll be a great day. Well, it's budget day without a budget.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
These are also figures I don't think any of us ever expected we would see.
G'day, Senator. Welcome back.
Great to be back.
Bit of normality returning to this place?
It is slightly. I mean, the Senate, we like to keep our traditions and customs. We don't like change too much, but the COVID pandemic has made us, rethink some of our traditional customs and practices.
So what, no scones, no biscuits?
No scones, no biscuits. We've improvised with a local provider of some donuts.
Senators, welcome back again, this time hopefully for more than a single day.
Senate's a more dynamic chamber than the House, much more going on, much more is done by consensus.
Doesn't everyone say that about their own chamber though?
They
Our
do.
chamber's better?
They do. I'm very happy being a senator. Senators are more interested in the detail. House members, I think, are a little more impatient.
Mr. Speaker, and the reality is, members on my left, Mr. Speaker, the member for Rankin is getting angry. Angry because he's irrelevant.
It's known as the budget tree. It's only famous because of you and the media all calling it the budget tree. It's called this because at the time of the budget, around the first week in May, this tree or the group of trees look fantastic with their beautiful deep red and yellowy autumn colour. Every sitting week, we need to make sure that the place is looking at its best.
Today, it's all about the economy.
The Treasurer reveals the country will face its largest ever deficit.
And I call the Treasurer.
Probes, it's May 12. It's meant to be budget day, according to the calendar. It's 3:30. We're meant to be locked up in this room going through the budget papers, but it's just you and I. It's a pretty empty space at the moment.
This is usually budget day, about this time, the room of absolute misery.
So we're not getting a budget now until October, but we did get a budget update today from Josh Frydenberg, and
Sorry, I missed that.
it'd be terrible, that moment. Can you imagine? Your throat is closing over as you're coughing during a coronavirus
His
update.
most important economic speech of his career.
As the Treasurer was getting ready to say where the economy's going, Labor had some cups it wanted to remind the government of.
I've got one too, Brett. Back in black. This is if you sold these, you could probably just about get the surplus back, couldn't you?
This bill saves millions of Australian jobs.
This was to be the big day. This was to be the big reveal. The surplus that we haven't had for more than 10 years was to be delivered on Tuesday.
Instead, Josh Frydenberg now will be the Treasurer who flags through the biggest deficit in Australian history. This year and next year they're pretty eye-wateringly huge numbers, and that's also goes to show you that even though you might be expecting to deliver a surplus, there are events outside your control.
It also should be a moment of grand liberation, shouldn't this? We have had this surplus fetish through both sides of politics for more than 10 years. We need to, as a nation, grab that opportunity and go for that reform that can bring something more than silly arguments about whether in red or black.
New South Wales is counting down the days until we can all get a small taste of life after lockdown.
What can Queenslanders look forward to?
The countdown is on for Victoria to ease restrictions, with the state to get a taste of freedom from midnight tonight.
Being able to sit in a spot like this is a sign that governments are wanting to ease some of these restrictions, but they feel like they're on a better footing now because we'll be able to better respond should there be outbreaks that pop up.
Yeah, the hospitals around the country are prepared. Ventilators are ready. The app's in place. It now means that we can go to places like this cafe.
Yeah, you can now see what the whole purpose of the shutdown was. The shutdown was to get our hospitals in readiness. Hi, Sophie. Thank you. Thank you.
Right, so this is the front of the facility.
Yeah.
We've got two sides to the facility. It's symmetrical, so we've got a staff core down the middle. We've got a suspect COVID-19 side on this area.
It will be an oval once again?
It will, absolutely. So everything here is temporary. All the engineering services connections are temporary.
So, Brett, we're right in the middle of this surge unit, right next to Canberra Hospital. This is a suburban cricket oval.
It's hard to believe.
It's hard to believe. The pitch is about over there. We're kind of fine leg. So this is for typically people who've known to have COVID-19 get so sick they have to be brought in.
Yes.
The whole idea is an insurance policy, because we went into lockdowns and restrictions because governments across the country were terrified that our hospitals wouldn't be able to keep up, and you would see that disease be far more deadly than it has been.
That's right, the early modelling was predicting tens of thousands dead, and the fact that we wouldn't have enough ICU beds, we wouldn't have the capacity to deal with the sick, not just COVID-19. What was the purpose of shutdown? Shutdown, which has caused enormous economic calamity. Shutdown was to allow places like this to be built. This is the thing about lockdown. This is about the thing about the success that the government and Australians have had. This place may never, ever be used.
Scott Morrison described the latest jobs numbers as terribly shocking.
You'd have to say, whilst none of these figures would have been a surprise, it's not a surprise that the Prime Minister and the Treasurer were pretty grim-faced today.
We haven't even seen how fully realised the problems are at the moment, right? So we're seeing, as new monthly job figures come out, that unemployment rate is ticking up.
Yeah, the 6.2% that was revealed this week is actually masked by JobKeeper. Now imagine if you were to take the unemployment rate, include JobKeeper, it'd be much, much higher.
And we've got the National Cabinet, which will continue to meet, but the trouble with the states will now probably increasingly start going in different directions, because the NT feels that it's put a hard border around it and it's not too interested in what Victoria's doing.
No, in fact I think they're getting ready to open up their pubs on the weekend, so
should we be moving there?
I think that's where we'd rather be right now.